James Maddison said what you said earlier, Davo. He said fans and neutrals talk about Tottenham. They often say soft, weak, bottle it, Spursy. He used that word, all that rubbish. He said the last couple of weeks shows we might be going in a slightly different direction.
From the Men in Blazers studios in the crap part of Bedford and from the OG crap part of Soho, it's the Men in Blazers video podcast presented by the GFOPs at Camarena, the most awarded tequila.
Oh, we back like Taylor Swift at Arrowhead, Davo. Oh, thank you, Taylor, for making us believe in love again. How are you holding up, Davo?
Yeah, we just need her to date a Premier League footballer, Rog, and then then the game will really take off in America. I'm doing
Grealish.
Okay. Just those calves might be too much for her. Just back from Scotland, Rog. You can hear I picked up a bit of a head cold, which is pretty much par for the course over there. But eager to get back and talk about the football.
Were you buying Hearts or Hibs?
Well, Hibs would be my flavour, but no, I didn't buy Hibs. But I must say, in Britain in general, one is reminded how difficult it is to watch Premier League football. It's just not easy. In America, we are so lucky to get to see so much Premier League football. In Britain, it is almost impossible. I speak to my mates who are big football fans, and the only games they've seen all season are the games they've been to. They haven't seen anything else. It just is like, I've got friends with Fulham season tickets and Brentford season tickets, and they travel away, but they haven't seen anything. Thank God if you're a Chelsea fan, they haven't seen any of our crap, but they've just heard about our results.
We are living in the promised land for so many reasons, David. Can I just say, talking about the promised land, and this is probably one of the few ebullient, joyous, effervescent podcasts we will tape this year. My mood, obviously, being wholly dependent on Everton, actually winning something. And it was Yom Kippur yesterday, which is a fast day. And I just say, not eating for 25 straight hours, I found it this year, I found it almost effortless. And I was trying to understand why. I was trying to work out why afterwards. And it was my wife. She was the one who came up with the answer. She was the one who actually put her finger on it. She said, compared to having to suffer through 90 minutes of watching Everton on the regs, she said, not eating for a day, it's just a piece of piss.
Yeah, it's easy. That's easy to do. I know, Yom Kippur, your favourite Jewish holiday, Rog.
It is now.
It is.
It is. Everton never lose under Sean Dyche when I'm fasting. By the way, she's not wrong. When you have watched the work of Michael Keane enough, I believe the CIA are now training their operatives. You become immune to torture when you have been an Everton fan.
You only sing when you're fasting. Sing when you're fasting. I love it. It's my new song for you.
Happy New Year, baby.
Happy New Year to you. Okay, before we get to the Premier League football, a quick shout out for everything happening at Men in Blazers World Headquarters this week. Rog, we should say that the response has been overwhelming to Men in Blazers Media Network's newest edition, Men in Blazers Early Kickoff. That is the daily 10-minute-ish podcast that drops every morning at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. It tells you everything you need to know for the footballing day ahead. I've added it to my daily routine. Rog, I love it. And so have so many GFOPs.
Davo, we wrote this in the Raven newsletter last Friday. And by we, I mean me. Releasing a new podcast. It's like dropping a child off on the first day of school, and anyone who's actually done that know that you kind of prise them off your leg and then just fling them in there sobbing and then run quickly in the other direction. But, you project confidence for your child's sake, but really we're so bloody terrified on the inside, not knowing how we'll fare, the little thing in the cruel world on its own. And I've got to say, thanks to you GFOPs, Early Kickoff came out of the classroom, bounding on the first day, huge smile on its face, slightly messy crayon drawing that said "Dad" in the teacher's handwriting, suspiciously. But to see it hit number 1 on the Apple Soccer Pod chart, enter top 10 for all sports podcasts, made us incredibly proud. Made me incredibly relieved. I'm so bloody happy for the team that have worked on this. But mostly, I'm grateful to you, dear listeners, to this podcast and all the podcasts on the Men in Blazers Media Network, the best football fans in the world. Thank you, really from the bottom of our hearts. We should say there's still tons more work to do on this podcasting reality. Early kickoff, meninblazers@gmail.com is the email address. So many of you have sent in feedback, insights, wonder, creative ideas. Keep doing so, and please subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you have subscribed, take a second to give it a 5-star rating and review it. It's crazy. That's how Apple does the algorithms. It really bloody helps bizarrely more than we can say. Davo, tell the people where they can find Early Kickoff.
I'm still in shock, Rog. This is the way I just found out that I don't write the Raven newsletter. But this is the most important bit, Rog. It is actually on a different pod feed from this one. You have to go to your podcast app of choice and search Men in Blazers Early Kickoff. Not just Early Kickoff, but Men in Blazers Early Kickoff, because there are some other early kickoffs there, but they're not the Men in Blazers Early Kickoff. Smash that, subscribe. I have to say, I've loved that analogy about dropping your kids off at school, because if there's one thing we have more than children, it's podcasts, the only thing between us. And with that, can you give us a toast?
I'm very polygamous when it comes to my podcast, but I'm also polygamous when it comes to my Bud Lights. And I want to raise my first Bud Light of the day to Wrexham Football Club. Hard weekend on the field. Bit of a beat down at Stockport, as you do. However, now just 2 points outside of the automatic promotion places, still racking up wins in different ways. Because can I just say, welcome to Wrexham, Season 2, Episode 2, second episode of the new season. I don't want to spoil it, so I will not say any more. Only that it's one of the best, most emotionally powerful episodes of television that I've seen in a long, long time. One soaked with football and empathy and love, community and connection and meaning, everything that ultimately is great about football. And Millie Tipping, what an incredible human being. To more courage.
Okay, Rog, to the football. We kick it off with Arsenal 2, Tottenham 2, a rivalry game for the ages that extolled all of football's greatest virtues. It was the home side that drew first blood on 26 minutes when their star boy, Bukayo Saka, caromed a shot off Spurs' Christian Romero and into the net. And if the goal didn't set the game alight, well, Saka's imitation of James Maddison's famous dart celly did. We're sure that's what set it off, Rog. The integrity of the dart celly, because Spurs from there grew into the game. And in the 42nd minute, it was Madders himself who delivered a beautiful move and a beautiful cross to Sonny to steer home 1-1. Then, on 54 minutes, Romero's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day continued as Premier League CCTV, aka VAR, caught him handling inside the box. Saka coolly thrust the pedo right up the middle to make it 2-1. But a mere 98 seconds later, down the other end, it was Sonny once again delivering the equaliser after a terrible mistake from Jorginho, sleeper agent, and splitting the spoils between these two unbeatens. Just an exhilarating 90 minutes for all parties involved.
An epic North London rumble, that peculiar corner of England that suddenly's got a grip on all the football and good vibes. Both sets of fans multilaterally repressing the knowledge. What is hope but shattered hope? And for the first time in Premier League history, they both entered this game unbeaten. But in North London derbies, Arsenal knew they'd won 4 of the last 5. Spurs, I think, had won just 1 of their last 30 at Arsenal. Big talk from Arsenal coming in. Davo, Ramsdale on the bench. Arteta keeps insisting that this QB1 goalkeeper situation as a competition. Ramsdale's not been dropped. But don't we believe if it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a goalkeeper being dispatched to the bench, he's very much and ruthlessly, he has been dropped, right? Not for his form on this season, but more for the memory of those erratic performances doing that wobble down the stretch, almost the memory of the offence.
Yeah, and clearly Arteta likes the way he starts. Arsenal depend on playing the ball very, very quickly out of the back, and he likes the way that he plays with the ball. And there's been, so far, this might end up making Ramsdale better as well. But so far, Arsenal still seem to be ticking pretty well with him between the sticks.
For Spurs, this was Ange Ball's first big test, the first North London derby without security blanket, sword and shield. Harry Kane, since 2014, the gent who was the top scorer in the history of this game, 14 goals in just 19 matches since 2014. We're Brendan Johnson's team now. And GFOP Williams Wright captured the vibe at kickoff when he tweeted, I'm just trying to figure out how Kane's going to somehow score a penalty. And it was a febrile atmosphere. Arsenal, something that we've got to acknowledge, probably one of the most remarkable achievements of the Arteta transformational tenure, the way he's turned a library into a riotous party. Both teams trying to play ferociously, joyously assert themselves, taking turns almost to launch raiding parties, flying into tackles. Arsenal, they definitely had the upper hand. The way they pressed Spurs, who kept trying to come bravely, sometimes at high risk, playing out the back, only to be driven into reverse gear as the Gunners tried to throttle them. They played with such an admirable intensity, fighting together to win every second ball. And the buckling, it was audible before the opening goal came. Saka got the ball on the right, like an English Iron Robin, cutting inside, acres of space thanks to that overlapping Ben White run. And the Spurs backline, there he just arced in a shot, driving it off a stunned Romero. Was there any other kind on this day who deflected it past a flying Vicario? It was stunning, David.
Yeah, I mean, this is a goal that we've seen Saka score, since last season. Again and again, he cuts inside. He's got no dodgy flapper, but it's Arjen Robben side. He cuts inside, curls it in. I think this one was missing, Rog. And if it wasn't
intentionally,
missing, well, something happened, and it, really poor Romero flailed at it and kneed it past his own goalkeeper who was diving to save it.
Oh, Saka then trotting away, unleashing the James Maddison dart celly right into the camera. That was cold, Davo, and a bit reckless. Did he mockingly, derisively just taunt a killer opponent a bit too early?
Maybe.
Reckless.
But it's almost with Bukayo Saka, it doesn't appear like taunting. It doesn't appear, the guy doesn't have a mean bone in his body. It's almost like this rivalry has become quite difficult for the neutral, and the neutral usually hates one of or both of these sides. You can't hate Arsenal because Bukayo Saka is so lovable. You can't hate Tottenham because Big Ange is so likable. It's taken, for the neutral, it's taken some of the edge off the Arsenal-Tottenham derby, Rog.
That is so funny. I spoke to a massive Arsenal friend of mine who I won't name because I don't want to out him on this particular point because it's almost sacrilegious. But he was mulling it post-game. He's like, I can't hate Big Ange. I've been summoning hate and it just will not come. You have to love that man, which is an astonishing thing to say. But for all of the good vibes about Ange Ball, we kept saying the past couple of weeks, how will they react towards adversity? How will they react? This was real adversity. There was that Jesus miss, 32nd minute. Spurs tried to build out of possession again. Jesus just ripped into Maddison on the edge of the area, charging on, but blasted high with just that goalkeeper to beat. Real sliding doors moment. Because it felt like 1 minute Arsenal were just emitting a white hot heat that was truly stunning. Spurs almost breathless in the wake of it. And it was adrenaline. It was fight or flight time for Tottenham. They left themselves so open. We were like, do they have the experience here? Do they have the patience? But I was so bloody impressed ultimately by the risks they were taking, the kind of risks ultimately they had to take that they've been trained now to take by Ange. Maddison dropping deeper, try and give them more control. They forced a phenomenal save by Raya, one that had even Aaron Ramsdale. What an immense gent this was, by the way. Yeah. We can't really talk about it. Yeah, in the speed of the game, it was kind of lost in it. But watching him, just a deeply competitive human being who's no doubt confused and in agony, just applaud the competitor / teammate from the bench. A really beautiful human moment. But within 2 minutes, Maddison wriggled like a freshwater eel away from his celebration derider. Saka at the byline, dart celly payback, that pullback into the corridor of uncertainty. Sonny, so hungry, swooping in quicker, sharper than 3 Arsenal defenders. You could see their jaws drop as the Korean surged in, clipped clinically into the corner. Double camera celly with Maddison. And just, Dave, in that moment, as a neutral, when you just like, oh my God, what a game. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, I mean, 3 incredible elements of that. One, we have reached the end of Spursiness. This is the great achievement of Big Ange. Yes, they're playing attacking football. Yes, they're taking risks. Yes, they're doing all these things. But it was the fight back that was so incredible. Second, the pure skill of Maddison, finding space, spinning a man, finding space, getting to the byline from a stopped ball, essentially from no motion. You can count on less than one hand the number of Premier League players who can do that, who can beat a man, spin like that, and get to the byline and deliver the ball that finds. Sonny, who was the third element, Sonny, Spurs captain, with the absence of Harry Kane, Sonny stepping up and just getting, as you said, just in a way that you can't imagine anybody else getting to the ball and angling it just perfectly past the keeper, off the post and into the side of the net. Just a beautiful, beautiful goal, and situationally just before halftime. Brilliant.
Yeah, what did we watch? I mean, Arsenal so strong, but then just that belief, that confidence burned off. You felt the absence of Martinelli and even Trossard, and Spurs' response as a neutral, just to witness this frenetic, positive, both sides optimistic football. It was a feast that could have gone so many bloody ways. Arteta after the game actually called it like a basketball game, and he's not wrong. Second half, Rice limped off with a back issue, reportedly. Hopefully, not going to keep him out for long. Vieira also off. Jorginho, Havertz replacing them. And Arsenal's ability to control and repel truly diminished accordingly. In the face of big Ange ball, I think it was J-Dubs that texted me, and he said, described Ange ball on a Sunday morning. It's like great bacon, egg and cheese, great for morale, terrible for your blood pressure. And second half, it was just a lot of everything. Romero, talk about a tough bloody Sunday. Off the corner, ball hits White, who smacked a bounce shot off the turf. Romero was diving in to make a block about where he thought the ball was going to go. Said it kind of ricocheted upwards towards his flailing arm. Those penalties, is it one of those that we talk about in terms of the law? Rationally, it is a penalty, but emotionally, I think in the law it's called within equity, within the spirit of the law. It feels tough because his arm wasn't in an exactly unnatural position there, Davo, but VAR penalty.
Yeah, it's not intentional.
It doesn't have to be.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. But it wasn't intentional. I'm talking about the spirit of the game. It's not intentional, and yes, it's in an unnatural position to block a ball, but not if you're falling over and need to brace your fall. And penalty seems harsh, but we've seen them given. It's not the first time. VAR, I wish VAR were a computer that could factor in, a genuine robot that would only use AI to decide what is within the spirit of the game, but it's not. It is governed by humans, Rog, which is the great disappointment of VAR. And the humans come in and they make their judgment call. And to me, the judgment call is wrong, but you've seen it given.
And Saka didn't need Romero's deflection this time. He banged that kick right up the middle. And really, you would have expected a title challenging team to hold on from here. But this is the biggest Ange cultural change articulated by GFOP at Lanky Lefty, who tweeted me after both Arsenal goals. They said, I had no feeling of panic, no feeling of dread, certainly no ill will toward Romero. It was sort of, can't wait to see how we'll score to equalise and maybe even steal one. That was a different feeling because, yes, A, this game was now officially drunk, but B, just 1 minute, 49 seconds later, Jorginho brain freeze on the ball, contemplating his options. James Maddison just snatched his wallet, charged forward ferociously, slipped the ball to Sonny, who could not miss, passing that ball lethally into that. 150 Sonny goals for Tottenham, Davo. Again, double camera Selly with Maddison. But then Sonny, it's just fascinating to me. After he scores, he's normally all smiles. He's come on this show and talked about the camera Selly as a reminder to himself and to his adoring fans to savor every moment, take nothing for granted, which of course I love. But then he did something different. He just moved forward towards the Spurs fans and let it all out. It's just the relief, the hype, the passion. He roared. The fans went berserk, and it was remarkable to witness this gent who for so long has been Robin to Harry Kane's Batman, just seizing the moment. The Ewing theory, Davo, the fact that the collective can be stronger post the departing star, more ferocious, more resilient, more buccaneering now that they're Kaneless. I interviewed the incredible Spurs gent Alistair Gold about that before kickoff, and he said, sadly, it's true. but you felt it in the moment. He was almost saying, Davo, this is my team now.
Yeah, I mean, Sonny, with the responsibility that he's got on his shoulders, is not shirking from it. He's playing great. Big Ange, a huge interview played in the UK before this game with Gary Lineker. And, not everybody can see the football, but everybody watched this interview. And, Big Ange talked about the reality of taking this job without Harry Kane and having to make the collective stronger and having to just deal with the fact that it's not an option. They can't think about it. They've never talked about it once with the team or around the dressing room or within training. They've just got to get in with the business. And football has a very short memory. You just get on with the game. But, it's notable to me that the Spursy moment in this game was committed by Arsenal, was committed by Jorginho. It was that mistake. Spurs sort of won it. Yes, they won it. They had to finish after that. But it was a gift from Jorginho just 98 seconds after Bukayo Saka had put the ball in the back of the net that gifted this game back to Tottenham and meant them splitting the spoils.
And for them, it was huge respect to both sides. The intensity was maintained, not always the high quality, emotion, passion, commitment. But it was just a little hot mess from then on. Ange pulled Sonny, fascinating, with 10 minutes to go, injecting some chaos in Richarlison. Spurs down the stretch, upper hand in terms of possession and intent. Arsenal now the counter-attacking force at home. Kai Havertz had their best chance, ball falling to him on the edge of the box. Chested it down, saw the name, Kai, in lights. And so obviously proceeded to blast high and wide. 0 goals, 0 assists on the season for poor Havertz. 10 minutes of added time. We were wondering, could there be a redo of last week's Sheffield United late madness? But no, game ended in a pile of tired-legged scraps. 2 unbeaten teams entered, 2 unbeaten teams leave. Only one winner really, Davo, right? Manchester City.
Well, yeah, and it's a game that I think Tottenham will feel better about the point than Arsenal, partly because it was at the Emirates and partly because situationally, I don't think Tottenham are trying to win a title or really believe they're going to win a title. Arsenal still really believe that they want to try and win the title, and so I think it hurts them more.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Arsenal first. This team still bedding the new pieces in, obviously. Shorn of a true clinical finisher, it feels. Hence that Ivan Toney connection that's being fired up by the English media this week. To me, this definitely felt more like 2 points lost. That flapping piece of skin narrative from down the stretch of last season, that they can't hold on to a lead, reinforced, the injuries mounting, Manchester City coming October the 8th, slither of players, Eddie and Nketiah, Fabio Vieira, who just seem lesser than the rest in a sense that. And I spoke to my Arsenal loving mate, Michael Cohen, right after this game, not that one, the good one. And he was already wondering out loud, he's like, with City still perfect and not looking like dropping a point, he said, we're living in a surreal reality. These are his words, not mine, where it's almost more realistic a goal for us, Arsenal, to win the Champions League because it's a cup tournament than it is the Premier League, which is honestly rational, but a madness.
Yeah, true. I totally agree. I think it's going to be, seems crazy to say it, it's going to be easier for them to win the Champions League than to win the Premier League.
And for Spurs, incredible courage coming back in that atmosphere, in that game, when past seasons, they just would have crumbled. James Maddison said what you said earlier, Davo. He said fans and neutrals talk about Tottenham. They often say soft, weak, bottle it, Spursy. He used that word, all that rubbish. He said the last couple of weeks shows we might be going in a slightly different direction. And the knock on Ange ball thus far this season was that bar Manchester United, he's yet to play a team of real heft. That was that test then. Many feared they'd be blown away before kickoff, if we're being honest. They resisted. They'll draw confidence from this as they gird their loins to play Liverpool next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Rog, what a transaction James Maddison was as well. A player who
Crazy.
We knew he was good, but surround him with elite level players and he's just even better than we thought.
For that price, Davo, too,
Yeah.
It is bargain of the season.
Fantastic piece of business. Okay, we've talked about them a lot. Manchester City 2, Nottingham Forest 0. This was a routine 2-0 win, but with a twist. Pep's favourite cocktail after going up 2-0 through really tidy goals from Phil Foden and who else? Erling Haaland, just 14 minutes into the game. City were cruising, but, Rog, the tricky trees started to show signs of photosynthesis. And just 1 minute into the second half, Rodri was sent off when he needlessly tried to measure the circumference of Morgan Gibb White's neck with his hands. And while City, playing a man down, made this contest mildly interesting, Forest never truly threatened City, make it 6 wins from 6. I think they're for real, Rog.
Oh my God. I think we knew that. I think we knew that before last season started, but they stormed into this one, top of the table, max points from their first 5 games. Yeah, without really excelling. They haven't had to. Remarkably, they'd won every single league game at the Etihad this calendar year. Their opponents, Matty T and the Tricky Trees, sound like an incredible soul band. Nottingham Forest, the squad, they're still the size of your average gospel choir. And while the sheer number of voices seemed at times to hurt them last season, conductor Stevie Cooper got all the tenors, all the sopranos, all those altos to gel down the back half of the season. And they've entered this one in the top half of the table, feeling dangerous, Davo. And God, I love Steve Cooper, a gent who survived so many nearly sackings. He's got more faith than George Michael. All the talk pre-game, he had a plan. He made 5 changes to that team that drew 1-1 with Burnley. Went with 3 centre-backs, presumably trying to seed the wings, make it just a real mud fight in the middle. Pep Guardiola, full of his false modesty pre-game, before ending his interview by saying, they have a plan, we have a plan. We'll see if it works. And we've honestly reached a stage where even Pep's tired of his own shtick and just cuts to the chase. And we had to wait all of 7 minutes to find out whose plan would work best. Rodri picked up the ball left centre of the park, pinged a long diagonal flare to the back post, streaking Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's favourite Kyle Walker, the streaking Kyle Walker, pulled it back.
In every sense.
Yeah. No, mostly in the sense that we don't think we mean. Pulled it back perfectly for old Phil Foden, Stockport Pinocchio, hammering home for his first goal of the season. David, that's how you break down a compact backline. That diagonal ping.
Yeah, we've seen it before. We've seen that move before, but this was slight variation. This was, Man City goal 3.4xy.2 with a twist, with a little asterisk on it. The way Phil Foden came in, sort of overlapped on the inside and finished it just so smartly. I must say, Rog, I watched every Premier League goal this weekend scored by every other team, including the 15 that Newcastle put past Sheffield. And all I thought was, there's not a single player on Chelsea who could have scored that goal. We will never score a goal exactly like that. It was just remarkable. And this was one that there is not a combination of players on Chelsea who could have ended up scoring that goal.
Oh, mate, I'm thinking, get Matt Miazga back, pinging a ball to Brohat, and you too may have that joy, David. But I got to say, it was a goal of a bit of sadness because our social team has been trying so hard to ship the Matty Clean Sheets nickname for the great Matt Turner. And it became very clear, even to us, that this was not going to be that day because just 7 minutes later, City again, Mateus Nunes, the 67 million off-season acquisition from Wolves, getting his first City Premier League nod as a starter, intercepted errant ball in the midfield, laid it off, picked it back up at the end line, clipped it beautifully to the back post where who? Erling bloody Haaland. Oh, smashed home a header. That Norwegian droid. It's his 8th goal of the season already, Davo. This is just, by the way, let me remind you, just the 6th game of the campaign. Scored 8 bloody times. And the fascinating thing about it is, no one's even surprised. No one's even making that big a deal about it anymore. This gent, Davo, let me ask it as a question. Has he normalized scoring at a non-human rate? There was always previously unthinkable. Now we're just like, yeah, sure, 10, 12, 15 goals after 7 games. Why not?
Yeah, he's normalized scoring for him at that kind of rate. And this goal, it looks like kind of a standard Erling Haaland goal, but it wasn't. How difficult it is to head with extreme power, a slow lobbing cross. The ball arrived on his head at maybe a third of the speed that he managed to nod it into the back of the net. It was just amazing stuff. So difficult to do. A goal you don't see scored very often off a slow ball. What a player. What a player. What a weapon.
And another thing I find incredible about Haaland is he's no longer a solo act. He's part of a duo. Julian Alvarez, he's become the Liam to Haaland's Noel. Yet the big man keeps feasting. And by the 24th minute, City had something like 86% possession. At one point in the first half, they had 47 final third entries. I just love final third entries to Forest 1. Not so good on the final third entries on this day. Enough to make even an Everton fan feel good. But somewhere around the half-hour mark, Forest was able to extinguish the Generals versus Globetrotters vibes. To say this was competitive would be a stretch, but it no longer looked like we needed to dispatch the CIA to do an emergency extraction for Matty Turner for his own protection. Early in the second half, fit of madness, Rodri, I mean, it was very weird what he did. I didn't quite need to. He looked like a very violent tailor trying to measure Morgan Gibbs White's neck size for him, Dave. It was like he was unleashing all of Messi's Thor celebrations on one human being's windpipe.
Yeah, he's getting ready for his Christmas present. It's going to be a very nice shirt from Drake's or something like that, Roger, and so he just needs to measure it.
I think you were 16 and a half, sir. Oh, I'm right.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But maybe also he's acknowledging that this would be a fascinating rule change. If every time you took a 2-goal lead in a football game, you actually had to have one of your players sent off. It would be a great, what we call in the game show business, Rog, a catch-up mechanism that would be interesting.
Oh, mate, well, I prefer the simple days. Phone a friend. It's fascinating because Rodri now, and Pep was not pleased. Said hopefully Rodri will learn post game. He'll now miss 3 games. That calm, that nerve center for City. He's the brain of the team. And of the 3 games, one of them is the Arsenal game. How do you replace him? John Stones still to return to fitness, possibly. What would you do without a Rodri for 3 games? Is that Calvin Phillips music? We will find out. But for the rest of the game, Pep locked it down. Greal's return from the knee injury. First time in 3 games. He's let his roots grow out during that period. God bless. Divock Origi came on for Forest, presumably just to stoke my anxiety. Forest never really threatened. 2-0. 6 games, 6 wins for Manchester City. 16 goals scored. 3 goals conceded. They got Newcastle midweek in a Carabao, Wolves in the league, RB Leipzig in the Champions League, and then October the 8th, it's that clash of civilizations against Arsenal, and still, Davo, yet to really find their best form or even truly be challenged.
Yeah, it is just routine at this point for Man City. So many goal scorers. When you were saying earlier that, Haaland is part of like this amazing duet with Alvarez, he's more like Tony Bennett. Rogers, that he can form a duet with almost anyone. Like we've thought of moments of Walker and Haaland, or Foden and Haaland, the great KDB Haaland. Like he combines with everybody and forms duos and trios all over the pitch. It's just amazing.
Oh, God, I can't wait. He's going to be bringing out Haaland duets, an American classic, you think?
Yeah, I think we could do it. I think we'll see him do that.
Haaland and Lady Gaga is possibly the only pairing that can land the quadruple.
How has that not happened?
I think that Pep get Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, and the Golden Globe. No, what's it? What's it called?
And a Grammy.
And a Grammy.
Get the EGOT.
Pep's like bored with the Champions League. He's like, lads, we're going EGOT. I'm going to be getting Elvis Costello and Grealish together.
Yeah, I love it.
Billy Joel's going to be. Who will Joel play with? Oh my God, Phil Collins and John Stones is going to break me.
Yeah, but you'd listen. You'd listen.
It's an earworm.
Yeah. Okay, Rog, moving on. Liverpool 3.
He's an easy lover. You got to hold on to believe it.
Oh, it'll be huge in Barnsley, Rog. Okay, Liverpool 3, West Ham 1. The launch of Liverpool.
Unlike no other.
It's so good.
Yeah, drum roll. Jack Grealish probably thinks the song's called "In the Hair Tonight."
Yeah,
it's in my hair tonight. It's in my hair tonight, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that song.
Yeah,
drums. That is.
In my hair tonight. I love it.
Sorry, David.
Okay, the launch of Liverpool 2.0 appears to be official as they see off the always pugnacious Irons. Mohamed Salah gave Liverpool the lead from the spot. My God, he hammered this one. Only for Jared Bowen to draw the Hammers level with a quite spectacular and somewhat dangerous diving header just before the half. But in the 60th minute, that Scouse Southern Hemisphere attacking duo, Argentina's Alexis McAllister and the Uruguayan Darwin Núñez synced up for the low-key goal of the weekend. Diogo Jota then killed the game off with a third. Liverpool remain unbeaten on the season, Rog. They're in sole possession of second place, just 2 points behind City, Rog, they have not lost in 18 games in all competitions. Are you scared? And not just because Klopp looked like a giant German Easter egg in that purple hoodie.
God, I want one of those purple hoodies. Purple is my colour this fall. I love the way you call it the Uruguayan Darwin Núñez, because other Darwin Núñezes are available. I'd love to get like 10 Darwin Núñezes together in a room. You know, just that whole theory of positive determinant, whether the name, actually, whether they have traits that are very, very similar. I'm the Uruguayan Darwin Núñez. I am the Californian Darwin Núñez. I'd love to get a conference of Darwin Núñez. I'm very fascinated by this man. But shout it, don't whisper it. Liverpool quietly.
Rog, I've just searched on Instagram. There are quite a lot of Darwin Núñezes.
Big conference, big business. Sponsors, get in touch for the annual Darwin. Yeah. That's great. It's we'll get what's that big conference hall in New York City?
Oh, what, the one down where they do the boat show?
Yeah. Boat show, car show. What show do you want to book, sir? We'd like to book the Darwin Núñez show, please. It's going to be quite sizable. I'm not sure they've got enough room.
Rog, look, there are pages of Darwin Núñez on Instagram.
Great.
Excellent.
Then we can really we'll have a large control group to find out if they're all start raving bonkers. But Liverpool have quietly, stealthily, savvily rebuilt. We were told, I was assured that the Saudi Arabia League had ripped the heart out of this team, left them for dead. But while we were looking at North London for the title challenge, and we've got to credit FSG for their transfer market savvy, Jurgen Klopp now leads a mentality monsters redux. This game, mouth-watering in prospect, turned out really to be a stroll in the second half. Liverpool slapped down the Hammers early endeavours. Mo Salah won, converted a penalty. West Ham resilient, yes. Bowen had a fever running into the game, stooped to head low, craftily into the Liverpool corner. But second half, Liverpool just turned up the energy, the intensity, the composure in possession on the hour mark. Darwin, the poster boy of the Darwin Núñez conference, who've been mocked. West Ham fans spent the whole game chanting, "You're just a shit Andy Carroll." He had a howler of a miss, granted, with the goal gaping. But what's changed this season is Gent seems to have developed a mental resilience where he shrugs off for failure. And he just turned around and silenced the Hammers with an incredible smash of a drive, off a incredibly floated pass. We've got to give McAllister credit for the ball. But that finish, David, Liverpool fans live to watch those kind of finishes and then just tweet the one word: sexual.
Yeah. The vertical ball almost never is pulled off in football, Rog. The vertical ball straight over the defence. It wasn't even much of a diagonal run. It was almost a vertical run. It's just such a goal that you just don't see very often. And it was just so superbly crafted and created. Feels like they worked that out a little bit in training, maybe that combo. But what a run from Núñez, and the composure to put that ball into the back of the net. Yeah.
The confidence, 7 goals in 4 games, stealth back. Klopp post-game praised actually his defensive contributions as much as his attacking ones. One of the players of the season so far. That man is like a footballing four loco. Jota finished off the game. Liverpool suddenly have so many attacking options again. A midfield built around Soberslide that can control games. And just far too much. Once again, poor David Moyes, God bless. I say this as an incredible admirer of David Moyes. I love the man. Also an Everton fan. Makes me love him. But Gent has never won at Anfield his entire career. I mean, wow. David, no wins in 20 attempts. You kind of feel like the only person who's lost more games at another venue more than David Moyes at Anfield is, well, David Moyes at Arsenal. But you kind of feel that he almost must turn up and be like, okay, get on with the punishment.
You think he'd stop going there? He'd just take his assistant and say, you've got this one. No point in me going to this game.
God, that's good. Or just not even bother to turn up and just take the 3-0 loss.
Yeah.
Save the lad's legs. But God bless, an agony for him, an agony for Mikel Antonio, who'd spent the run-up boasting that West Ham will finish above Liverpool. Stick to CONCACAF, Mikel. God bless. Moy said post-game, we did a lot of good things today, but I come from here saying the same things too often. I'm sick of saying it. God bless honesty, but still unbeaten Liverpool look robust and potent. They head to Tottenham next weekend on the back of 6 straight wins, all comps. Liverpool right now, David, you got to say, they look like City's true pursuers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They have improved, we should say. They've got better and better. Opening day of the season, that 1-1 draw against Chelsea, where Chelsea actually looked like the better team, which is remarkable to think. But Liverpool have just got better and better and better. They seemed a little wobbly. They sort of eked out a couple of results. That game against Wolves, when, Wolves kind of took it to them and Liverpool got a little fortunate. But Liverpool have got better and better and better. They're adjusting to playing a new kind of football, which is terrifying. They're like the Borg. They've adapted. They're coming with something new. And I was blown away by the performance in this game. I actually think this was the performance of the weekend. I thought it was just superb, even better than City.
You mentioned Chelsea. Let's rip off the Band-Aid.
Oh, Chelsea 0, Villa 1, the Premier League's most fibre-starved team. They're starved of everything, Rog. They hosted Aston Villa, and it is Unai Emery's side that came out on top. Each side created a fair few chances in the first half, but neither could capitalise. Then, in the 58th minute, Chelsea's 20-year-old Malo Gusto was sent off for the most egregious French-on-French violence since Jean Valjean. I'm not sure it was that bad, when he put his studs into your mate Luca Digne's ankle, which I thought you were allowed to do, Roger, against Luca Digne. And 15 minutes later, it was the Don of Devon, Ollie Watkins, who put one through Robert Sanchez's legs to win it. Rog, Chelsea have just 5 points in 6 games, not scored a goal since August the 30th. To all the Everton fans, it could be worse. You could be Chelsea fans.
Oh, my God, I'm going to get that as a tattoo. Oh, Davo, Chelsea, really, I see them more and more as just the trust fund kid of football. Rich and stupid money.
Young.
That never ends well, does it? They are listing. Poch entered this game in full trust the process mode. This squad of young, raw, high-risk, high-potential players on insanely long contracts. Transfer window record-breaking money spunked. Kind schedule. We've got to remind ourselves of this to open up the campaign. Just 1 win all season, and that was against Luton. 5 goals all season. These are Everton numbers. First half, modest step forward. Mudryk, that ultimate lost boy, and is honestly the best, smartest, most effective half I've seen. But it doesn't seem to matter, David, because you're Chelsea. They're the most blunt thing since Emily.
Well, can we just go back to before kickoff,
please?
Rog? Because this is important. This is the really important point that I think all football fans, it's the kind of nuance that I think you and I can only really provide on Men in Blazers.
Did you say nuance?
Nuance.
I love a Frenchman, a French pronunciation.
Pochettino wore a double-breasted blue blazer.
So
we have never, I'm trying to remember ever seeing a double-breasted jacket in the history of the Premier League. I'm not sure we've ever seen it before. It was a terrible error, Rog. It was just
the imbalance.
Yeah, the imbalance. You can't wear. I mean, I'm a big fan of the double-breasted blue blazer, Rog. It is my go-to number 1 blazer. But I'm not a Premier League manager. I just don't know how his players are expected to react to that when they're already having obvious problems, unless he was just trying to create chaos.
You think the outfit was what was throwing the team off?
No, but it didn't help, Roger.
We've said this before. I think ultimately the ideal outfit to wear for any manager, and I would wear this if I got the nod, and I may be the next man up at Stamford Bridge. So this is kind of
it's possible. You and Todd are like
it's kind of a job interview. I think they are, and you've got to obviously have thick skin to resist the ridicule. It's obviously got to unleash the lederhosen, just compact. Versatile, hard-working, hard-wearing, and the balance in proportion everywhere.
Especially if you're not German. That's when it really works.
Yeah.
A German manager in lederhosen, I think, would pose some issues. But I think with you, Rog...
You think I'm saying, lads, I didn't fast on Yom Kippur. I don't even know what that is. Nothing to see here. Carry on. But you're saying that ultimately you knew the game was done just when you saw just the complete one-sidedness that is inherent in the double-breasted design. Very, very, what Guy Ritchie on our show would come on and say, a dangerous game.
It was a dangerous game. That's exactly what I thought.
It
was a dangerous game. We might have to call up Guy Ritchie and get his opinion on it. But it was, Chelsea were bright. Mudryk was excellent in that first half. Chelsea were bright. Chelsea did lots of things really well. Unfortunately, the telling thing in football is putting the ball in the back of the net. And Chelsea, for a very long time now, and it goes back to before Mauricio Pochettino, have just been appalling at creating more than just chances. And when they make any kind of chances, converting them. They just don't. They play a lot of nice football, but nice football, word to everybody involved at Stamford Bridge, is not what gets you into the top four in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a note here. They played nice football, mostly, I think, because Villa, but they were dead-legged. They were there for the taking. They'd had to travel back from Europe from Thursday football. But the game changed with some self-immolation. Gusto received a straight red, risky tackle. Let's file it under that right on Digne. Chelsea fans, I think, many of them see it as winning the ball, but he did go through the opponent's ankle.
I'll give you my opinion. It's yes, it looks a little bit harsh in real time because Aston Villa had played a bad pass, so Gusto went for a ball. Very often you see reds come when one player or another, when the ball is misplayed and both players go for the ball. Usually it's the offensive player who goes in too hard to go and recover it. Malo Gusto went in for it and did win the ball, but the ball is at the halfway line. It's not in a dangerous part of the ground. To make that challenge, even if you win the ball, you go through. And yes, it wasn't egregious high up the ankle or anything, but it's enough. And it's within the band, Roger. It's within the zone where you give VAR a chance to go and make the decision. So just like the handball earlier, you've seen it given, and so you can't really complain about it.
I mean, it was followed up by Nico Jackson picking up his 5th yellow card of the season already for dissent. I think Poch later said, we need to grow up. You buy raw green players, you place them in the crucible of pressure. These are the kind of decisions, reckless, immature decisions that you will see all over the field. This is reaping what you're sowing. But it got to be said, even with 10 men, Chelsea still create the finer chances. Wherever, as you said, working out how to put that ball in the back of the net. Nice to see Broha on for the first time since last December. But Emery's Villa, we know they can be so economical. They can be so clinical. They don't need much. Came to pass first, and pretty much only time Ollie Watkins had a chance to stretch his legs. He charged at the Chelsea back line, had a shot blocked, pounced upon the rebound himself, just lashed it in from the sharpest angle. What an agony, right into the corner. First Premier League goal of the season for him. Cue Villa fans singing "Sacked" in the morning to Pochettino. Poch said post-game that we are woefully short of leaders. Here's the challenge for Chelsea. They are flailing, but this is it. Problem. You've changed the manager. You've changed the manager now, I think 4 times. This is not Frank Lampard's music. They've changed the players. This is almost a whole new bloody squad. There's something still deeply challenged at the core of the club right now. We don't know if it's something rotten left by Roman Abramovich, as the whole front office has essentially changed and yet to gel over the past year, from medical staff all the way to PR team, or if it's something that's come in with the new ownership, who reportedly come into the changing room post-game and have spent money like we have never seen before. They even announced this weekend that they've raised 500 million in new investment from Aries management, debt secured against Stamford Bridge for, quote, stadium upgrades and team acquisitions, which sounds like raise money, borrow money, spend money. And whether there's a plan there, we are still yet to see. But what can change, David, to change this rot that's gripping you? The Chelsea fans are furious about the Colwill, the Enzo out of position, the use of Chilwell and Gallagher. Should we be questioning Poch, Davo, at this moment, or is it something bigger?
Look, first off, Chelsea fans will be upset with me if I don't mention 2 things. One, the goal they conceded was desperately unlucky. Colville defended it really well. We can say that Ollie Watkins was sharp and the way that he took the chance, but Colville defended it so well. He got blocked the initial shot, and it just rolled perfectly to Watkins, who then played the ball and played it. And this was a terrible goalkeeping mistake. Put it right through Sanchez's legs. It hits the post and goes in. And it was very much against the run of play, even with Chelsea with 10 men. But it's the kind of luck that you get when you are, when you never put the ball in the back of the net. And Chelsea's defensive record, despite conceding, I think there's only 2 teams in the league who've conceded less goals. They are still defending very, very well. They're still doing things well. And, as many people have written, they still are playing pretty good football, but they are just not scoring. And this is the rot. And my big criticism of what's going on at Chelsea is really twofold. One, there is something that has gone between multiple administrations, which is the injuries that Chelsea keep on getting. There is something not right in the way that they are, and maybe it's their recruiting players who are injured, maybe they are just not developing players in the right way, but we are seeing more and more Chelsea players go down and stay out for longer and then have recurrences of those problems again and again and again and again. And Chelsea's injury list has been too long, but it's been too long for too long. And the second thing is I understand the recruitment. I even understand the circumstances that made Todd Burley decide that he needed to do so much recruitment so early. I understand the policy of going after young players and perhaps spending more money for them, but putting them on long-term contracts at kind of low salaries. I understand the value of that. And I understand the value if that is a building project. But they weren't set up to be in a building project. This is not a team to be in a building project when you've spent billions, literally, of dollars to go and do it. Be in a building project and spend $500 million, 400 million, 500 million. But this is a team, the fans are not prepared for it. The club's finances are not prepared for it. And I'm telling you, the investors in Clear Lake Capital are not prepared for the long-term project that it now looks like at Chelsea. And I think we're going to see come January where Burley and Clear Lake and everyone involved in this really is, because they're going to, if they believe in this project, they're going to sit tight and they won't sign anybody else. If they're panicked, they will sign someone. I don't think Mauricio Pochettino's job, from everything I hear, I don't think it's in any danger. I don't think they can fire another manager. I think it just puts the spotlight too squarely on the ownership. But they have problems. They've a lot of young players, a lot of good young players, but there's no one you feel. And as I said to you, I watched every goal scored in the Premier League this weekend, and I did not see a combination of Chelsea players who could have scored the same goal.
Can I just tell you this? I do remain a Poch fan. The gent is in the eye of a reputation destroying storm. Yet he gave an interview, I think, to Jacob Steinberg in The Guardian, in which he went into the depth of his strategy to keep a bowl of lemons in his office to absorb negative energy. Did you see this interview?
No, I did not.
It's amazing. He said, if we're given time, Chelsea will feel the benefits. Give time to the lemons. If you want to have good energy, implement all the things you believe. I believe in the lemons. But at Tottenham, they started to work after 1.5, 2 years. They need a long time. They are not magic, but more than ever, I believe in them. I have yellow ones in my office, green ones, different types from Spain, from Italy. I don't want to lie, but there's a big box of lemons. I mean, this speech, Google it, find this, Dave. I don't know if you've got anything in your life like Poch's lemons. He went into great detail. He said a lime is not a lemon, it's a brother, maybe with a different mother or a different. I mean, this was deep lemon talk. I think it works on many
I
levels.
mean, look,
Freudian lemon. I don't know if you've got anything in your life like Poch's lemons, Davo, but that may be your only hope.
well, I have lemons and limes and oranges, all sorts of brothers and sisters in my garden in Los Angeles. And believe me, I do love a bit of citrus. I'm a big citrus fan, but I don't depend on them to get results out of a bunch of players not good enough to put the ball in the back of the net against Aston Villa or Nottingham Forest at home. So that worries me a little bit. I remain a
Really, I
Poch
love
fan.
it. I love
I
it. That
worry
made me
about
love
that.
them and all the more citrus tactics. They're the future.
Okay, Rog,
Sean
moving on.
Dyche is more pro scurvy.
Let's see how it works against Brighton in the Carabao. Okay, Burnley 0, Manchester United 1. Eric Ten Hag leads his band of not so merry men to the Shires and gets all 3 points behind a real moment of quality from the perpetually petulant Portuguese Bruno Fernandes. It was a Cristiano Ronaldo callback, Rog. Bruno took an absolutely sumptuous Johnny Evans. Yes, that's right, Rog. Johnny Evans played this perfectly weighted long ball over the top for Bruno to smash home on the full volley. United then proceeded to shut the game down. It wasn't pretty, especially against a team that was bottom of the league coming in. But 3 points is 3 points is 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, United entered this. We've talked about this enough. Searing free fall. I mean, rarely has a team's name seemed more ironic because there's nothing United about this club at every level, from the ownership, problems across the back line, the midfield, in attack, 3 straight defeats, players' agents briefing the press that against Eric Ten Hag and his withering criticism, Jadon Sancho's Cold War, devastating injury list. So here's what United do. They unleash 35-year-old, almost Jurassic Johnny Evans, exhumed after signing him from Leicester. First United start since March 2015. Less a footballer, more a connection between millennia. JJ Watt's Burnley, always game, not quite the quality to really fight, David. But if you're a United fan and you're seeing them try out Johnny Evans to solve the problems, what are you thinking?
I mean, after watching the Chelsea legends, I'd take John Terry and Gary Cahill back tomorrow. So I'm not. I'd take Zola back in midfield. I'm not going to complain about it at all. I think it's a wonderful idea, and what a wonderful player. And for me, in defence of the old guys, lovely to see him come back and do so well.
Yeah, I'd say the first half, the Clarets were the protagonists, and we've got to shout out 19-year-old Connecticut-born Luca Colaioccio, constant menace, gent who's actually eligible to play for the United States of America, as well as Canada, Nigeria, and Italy. Currently, Italian youth team. I spoke to someone at Burnley recently, and he was like, "US soccer should be on a charm offensive for this kid," which I utterly agree with. Aaron Ramsey, also a spark plug. The two of them, I mean, causing mayhem. They hit the post, forced Anana to do something that he hates to do, which is save the football. But at the stroke of half time, United seemed to be just holding on. It was Johnny Bloody Evans. It was always him, Davo, floating just. God, that ball just perfectly backspinning. I knew you'd love that. The backspin on that ball, just
Love it.
probing,
Love
floating.
backspin.
Yeah, I mean, and Bruno Fernandes met it. One of the hardest finishes in football, like control volley drop in front of you and then thrashing it the other way. So much that can go wrong. I mean, that ball is meant to end up high and wide. The opposing fans are meant to be like, away! But instead, discipline, body shape, leathered it low into the corner. It was like Rooney Van Persie 2013. That technique, Davo.
Well, I mean, I think you're intentionally leaving off Cristiano Ronaldo, who scored almost exactly the same goal in his final season at Manchester United. It was a tribute goal. It was a tribute goal in every single way, Rog.
Get them all back.
Loved it. I
Rooney,
loved it.
Ronaldo,
Yeah,
get them all back, you cowards. I mean, get Wes Brown signed. Get Nani back in United, you cowards. It was not easy for them. I mean, United should have then gone on and run away, but Trot McTominay, Casemiro insipid, backline always vulnerable. They held on more than anything, relieved Ten Hag, attempting to channel defiance at the post-match talk. He was like, this was a must-win. We knew it. The team spoke on the pitch. Great goal, massive, brilliant movement. I mean, this is a Manchester United manager. That's what I thought. Talking about a 1-0, fairly unconvincing win against bloody Burnley, but that's where we are. Run of confidence winning a run of confidence winnable games lie ahead. Palace, Brentford, Sheffield United before they face Manchester City, gulp at the end of October. Burnley, 4 home losses to start the season. That looks tough for them, all that is to come. But United, Davo, far from good. Is it a never mind the quality, feel the wit? First away win of Ten Hag season. Clean sheet for a battered backline. Just take what you can get, savour the small victories.
Yeah, and look, I think Burnley, despite their league position, I think they, hats off to everybody involved up there. They have really changed the culture of that team and the way that they play after dropping down to the Championship under Vincent Kompany. I think they love the football they're playing. And winning away from home in the Premier League is hard. And I don't think this was much of a performance. I don't think the performance is going to give Man United fans anything to write home about. But, a 1-0 win is a 1-0 win. And these are good results. And I think Manchester United, Ten Hag, deserve some credit.
Incredible quickly to watch last night during the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. An anti-Glazers banner, small aircraft, flown overhead. Manchester United fans from Pittsburgh, Atlanta, and Tampa apparently came together to protest the Manchester United owners at the home of their NFL team. Davo, is that the day America became a normal football nation?
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. Good work.
More small planes.
Yeah, we love it. We love small planes. We're really big. How good football is for the small plane barrier pulling industry.
I don't know. At the end of the day, which is bigger? The Premier League industry or the small plane industry pulling protest banners? We do not know, but I think we're about to find out.
It's confusing. Whew. Okay, this is going to be a long one, Rod. Sheffield United 0, Newcastle 8. The stop, he's already dead meets that escalated quickly memes in a game during which Newcastle beat the Blades to death, the same way the internet does each of those pieces of content. Goals from 8 different Newcastle players, none of whom we'll mention other than Anthony Gordon, just for your benefit, Rog, a scoreline big enough to send Paul Heckingbottom's chip butties to the Premier League basement on Goal de France.
In a week in which Mohammed bin Salman did an interview with Fox News in which he grimly and explicitly announced he would continue to sports wash his nation's global reputation. Newcastle proceeded to descend upon Sheffield and treat the Blades as teams used to treat Newcastle. Before they received that Saudi bullion, a record-breaking win for Newcastle, an annihilation, really, biggest ever away win, biggest win of any kind in 24 years. Became the first team in Premier League history to have 8 different players score in a single game. Just incredible. Sheffield United, we've got to say, utterly abysmal. But goalkeeper Foderingham, who without him, honestly, it's shocking 8-0, and it could have been so much worse. Really killed over and surrendered. But for the Blades, 1 point from their first 5 games back in the Premier League. Club briefing manager Paul Heckingbottom is safe for now, but so many players outrun, out hustled, which is really unforgivable. The boos resounded around Bramall Lane. It pains me to report this, but Anthony Gordon, that ginger turncoat bastard, came on inside 12 minutes, changed the game. Newcastle fans have given him a chant in which they call him Starboy. That ginger bastard, Davo, he is thriving. His decision making, it just seems more incisive, more confident. He's very good at football.
Maybe he just loves Piff, Rog. It's just possible he loves Piff. But it's not so much a turncoat. It wasn't what he turned away from, it's what he turned towards, and he just loves Piff.
Some players are motivated by money, others by the pursuit of glory. He just really likes human rights abuses.
Yeah, he enjoys Piff and anything else that Piff stand for. May it or may it not be human rights abuses. Who knows what Piff are involved in? We
The
have no
two
idea.
fans loved whatever it was. It was just, they 8-0, they were still chanting attack, 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 a record breaking demolition so complete that cameras caught a Sheffield fan. I love this woman.
Yeah, I loved it.
What do you think? What do you think she was reading, Davo? She was just sitting there. If you didn't see, 75 minutes, went to cheer her team on. They're getting absolutely annihilated. She's just sitting there pulling out a book,
I
reading.
loved
Why
it.
waste a minute? Why not read at the football match? What do you think she was reading?
No idea what she was reading. Perhaps poetry, Rog, because as you know, poetry, it's when you're down, nothing gets you down further
God,
and at the same time allows you to escape more than poetry.
oh, I'd love that. If she was reading a compendium of First World War poetry, gas, quick boys in ecstasy of fumbling. God, I would love it. GFOP Wheel 622 suggested it was probably a book entitled How to Become a Football Manager. But bloody hell, what a difference a week makes. I am old enough, I don't know if you know, Davo,
Yeah.
to remember when some Newcastle fans were critiquing Eddie Howe, beginning to wonder if he was not long for this world. But now to paraphrase, they're loving Big Howe instead.
Yeah, it does occur to me, though, Rog, that if we did implement my proposed Premier League rule change, by the end of this game, Newcastle would have been down to 7 men. It would have been 11 versus 7, and that would have been a pretty great end to the football. I'm just saying, try it. Try it perhaps during a CONCACAF Champions League game or something like that, or a CONCACAF qualifier. We'll see how it goes when, Kitson Nevis plays against Barbuda.
Gold Cup, you're welcome.
Okay, Brighton 3, Bournemouth 1. The bottom of Britain, top of the alphabet. Derby sees Roberto De Zerbi's Seagulls win their 5th game in 6, but it was the Cherries who took the lead in the 25th minute when Gulls goalkeeper Bart Verbruggenit his pants and turned over possession, allowing Dom Solanke, God, what a player, I can't believe we let him go, to pounce and finish emphatically. But right before half-time...
He knows where the goal is, David.
Yeah, but
they were like, nah, that's not the kind of football we want to play around here. You go.
Yeah, clearly, Rog, because before halftime, it was another one of our former players, Billy Gilmore. Billy Gilmore, Rog, remember him? He's all grown up, and he put one into the corridor of uncertainty for Bournemouth's Milos Kerkez to head into his own net. And then just 15 seconds after coming in as a sub, Japanese Seagull Karu Matoma, Rog, what a player, latched onto some Ansu Fati-inspired South Coast tiki-taka to put Brighton ahead. Matoma added a third with a snackable header. And just like that, the Seagulls sit 3rd in the league, Rog. 3rd in the league.
Yeah, and this week marked the 1-year anniversary of Roberto De Zerbi announcing himself as one of the great Premier League characters. Entered this one again with the 6 changes, trying to keep pace with European competition's 2-front battle. Is Brighton really a living example of modern coaching? That it's the system, not the players. But Brighton here laboured. Iraola's Bournemouth wouldn't high press. That's what Brighton need to gel. And there was an incredible moment in which the Brighton goalkeeper, Verbruggen, walked the ball slowly up the field for over 30 exhausting long seconds, daring his opponents to press to open up space, which they declined. He didn't know what to do. You could just see just the shock on his face. And then Bournemouth had the temerity to open up the scoring. De Zerbi unleashed Matoma at half-time for instant impact. I mean, it was the player, not the system. Scored within 15 seconds. Also got a second, assisted by Ansu Fati, who came on. We're not used to playing so many games, De Zerbi said, but third place for Brighton. Brutal run of games ahead for the Seagulls, it's got to be said. Aston Villa, Liverpool, Manchester City next three. What do you make of them? Should we talk about them more after this month, Davo, than we are currently?
Yeah, I still think they're playing beautiful football, and somehow, Rog, they're doing all of it without Moises Caicedo, which is amazing. They don't seem they manage to just sort of like lose players, and it doesn't affect them at all. And then you realise their players go, and you think, oh, maybe the individual players weren't that good. Maybe it's the system. Maybe it's the manager. Maybe it's the tactics. But it's just remarkable what they do on the South Coast. And you look at a player like Matoma, and you just cannot believe that they found him and nobody else did. What a Premier League footballer, Rog. What class. What he can do it all. He can do everything. Every week he amazes you with another move. This week it was that header of glory. It was just perfect. It was so satisfying to watch. It's hard to put into words why it was so satisfying, but it was the glancing, it was the finish, it was the run onto it. Everything. It was as good as that goalkeeper who scored one in Europe a few weeks ago. It just was beautiful, satisfying stuff.
Both of our teams should look at Brighton with awe. Not just the tactical brilliance of De Zerbi, but just the way they are run with vision, the scouting, the recruitment, the data analysis, top to bottom. The football world is alignment. I say that with amazement. Bournemouth, we do need to say, yet to win this season, fourth from bottom, 3 points, but their style of play, honestly, their record and their style of play seem two different things. They have had a tough set of fixtures to open up with. We film with American owner Bill Foley, of Las Vegas Golden Knights Stanley Cup winning fame. I'm really fascinated by his approach, his data-driven approach to ownership. It's lovely to see my mate Tyler Adams joining first team training again. The Bournemouth manager Raola says Tyler could play, quote, in the next week or two, which I, of course, translate to mean he will most def score the winner when Bournemouth face Everton on October the 7th. Godspeed, Tyler.
Yeah, just a quick shout for your podcast, Roger, with Bournemouth owner and Las Vegas Golden Knights owner Bill Foley, who rose from the ranks of the US Air Force to own an English Premier League club. Note to producer JW, why has your dad not done the same thing? Definitely an insight. It doesn't even own Ipswich Town. Definitely an insight into leadership, data in football, and the signing of your mate Tyler Adams, as you just mentioned. That pod dropped yesterday. Go and search it out. Okay, moving on. Luton 1, Wolves 1. That elusive September relegation 6-pointer. Wolves were reduced to 10 men after Jean Rickner Bellegarde was sent off, not just for sounding too French, but also for his tackle on Tom Lockyer. Despite being down a man, it was Wolves who ripped out to a 1-0 lead when aqua-clad Pedro Neto drove into the heart of the Hatters defence and put an absolute moonshot past Luton's Belgian number one, Thomas Kaminski. Luton levelled it up via a controversial second-half Carlton Morris penalty. It's Luton's first ever Premier League point, and somehow, Rog, there are two teams below them in the table.
Yeah, that penalty, another one. I mean, the ball bounced off Gomez's foot, hit his outstretched arm, judged to be in extreme position. Penalty given and converted, harsh. Bloody hell, can we just say a quick thing? I loved that Fortress Kenny Neto, that thunderbolt finish. He then unleashed about 7 celebrations. You got to watch this. On one goal, he did the chicken walk, the cupped hand to ear, the shushing of the home fans, the pointing to the back of the shirt. It was just like, I may not score again. I'm going to unleash the entire greatest hits album.
Somewhere a bunch of Wolves fans, they're like playing bingo with it, Rog, and they're like checking off boxes as he pulls them all off.
Joy of a first point for Luton. Got to feel though, ultimately that will burn away midweek, and they'll realise, bloody hell, we've got to glean all 3 against these kind of teams, especially when they're down to 10 men. They will surely, though, get their first win of the season, Luton, this upcoming Saturday when a trip to that footballing Make-A-Wish charity, aka Everton Football Club, awaits them.
Okay, Rog, Crystal Palace nil, Fulham nil. Not a lot to talk about in this one, Rog. And I was actually there. Fulham actually looked like the better side for most of the game, but were never able to find a goal. A lot of talk about El Tree's Raul Jimenez, who has still yet to find the back of the net since joining the Cottagers over the summer from Wolves. Both teams on 8 points through 6 games and comfortable mid-table.
Yeah, I mean, it is mid-table. It was like two teams cut from just safe, moderate, unoffensive, mid-table cloth wrestling against it. This is honestly the earliest I've ever seen a end of season dead rubber, Dave. Lovely to see Roy Hodgson back. Lovely also to see Crystal Palace unleash a new young talent. One to the Chelsea Academy, actually. Jesher and Raksakiai,
Yeah.
who's going to be their next striker up. But apart from that, Dave, Palace now face up to Manchester United twice, I think midweek in the
Yeah.
League Cup and then next weekend at Old Trafford. But a bit of a snoozer you're out there live and in person.
Yeah, well, it was wonderful. My best mate Ben Rumney was with the Fulham away fans sitting opposite me, and the Fulham fans sang their heart out at this one, Rog, and backed their team. And they do play attractive football. Fulham. The best player on the field, I have to say, was Willian. And by the way, he would still be the best player if he played for Chelsea. Still a player who can just play glorious football. He can find a pass. He can beat a man. He can wiggle his hips and leave someone on the floor. Wonderful to watch him play so well. Palace, a lot of injuries, so they have so few offensive opportunities, and that's what owner Steve Parish was bemoaning after the game, is how few offensive players they have. But the balletic beauty of watching Eberechi Eze in person, just the way he takes the ball, the way he moves, just everything about it, he takes your breath away. The oohs and ahs from the home fans, and by the way, half of the Fulham directors who were sitting next to me every time Eze just made another move on the ball. Beautiful to watch. Even 0-0s, Rog, can be beautiful when you watch football live and in person at Selhurst Park.
And so can 3-1s.
Here it is, Rog. The moment you have been not so patiently waiting for all podcasts. The big one. Brentford Bees 1. Your Everton 3. Your mob headed down south. They delivered scouse justice to those pesky bees. Goals from Dookie, Tark, and DCL, a trio that sounds like some kind of A-Team remake. That's actually a really good idea. They do the job here and give Everton its first win of the season. I'm happy for you, Roger. Genuinely am. I'd take 1 goal at this point, and you got 3.
I would have bitten your arm off at halftime for a point, honestly. I like to imagine Sean Dyche rolled into this one and said to the boys before taking the field at Brentford, "They're fighting for clicks. We're fighting for wins. There's a difference." Let me take you back before kickoff. Just Blues imploding. One big boy point muddled somehow from 5 games, 3 wins in their last 38 on the road. Think about that for a minute. It's almost 2 seasons of watching Everton, and I've only had 270 minutes of joy away. That is a lot of darkness. We played Brentford 11 times at their gaff, won just once. This was a mental challenge as much as a footballing one, just a spiral of self-doubt. I mean, the sad news was we couldn't even let Brentford play on loan Neil Maupay against us because he's on loan, which is probably, I thought, going into our only hope of getting a point out of the game. So imagine my shock. 6 minutes in, recycled corner, Garner, dispatched back to the big lads, Tark, set up Decore in space, just an arch of a finish. Just let it all out. I roared. I mean, David, this was just our 3rd goal all season. But the question was, and I'm asking you because you're the official arbiter, I mean, Ovs, did we just score too early?
Clearly not.
Still don't believe it.
Away from home against a team who are also, inconsistent, I'd say. Brentford, 1 week they look like world beaters, the next week they don't look so good. And they've been a little frail at home. They've had a couple of disappointing results. But it was just the power that Everton brought into this game and showed. Decore, we've talked about all season, has been Everton's best player. But Tarkowski, a player, who Sean Dyche smelted out of copper at Burnley. What a performance, from him.
Love that man.
And they're great
that,
and won that header.
Adore
And, I've always joked a little bit about Everton, how the Everton fans cheer corner kicks like other teams cheer goals. But now Everton under Dyche, they've become so dangerous from corner kicks. This one was recycled.
It's so
wow.
funny. It's so funny. I wrote down in my notes that US soccer, the men's team, should watch Everton on these corners because we are so bad at them, United States men. the Everton show you that how crucial these set pieces bloody are. GFOP, by the way, at Kate Shadler tweeted on whether we'd scored too early. She tweeted, Everton could score on the last kick of the game and it would somehow still be too early. God bless the Corée. More chances came. James Garner, so strong in the heart of our midfield. Shite McNeil rolled one wide. Mikalenko slapped one against a relieved keeper. Dukey thrashed one against the bar. And of course, while it was still strumming, that bar still bouncing up and down. Everton fans know it's always darkest just before it goes pitch black, within seconds of whacking the bar. Brentford's first comprehensive attack, Norgard cleverly found Jensen. He smacked it straight to an oddly weak-wristed Pickford. Hello, death. I've been expecting you. And as you say, at halftime, if you'd wandered in and offered me a point, I would have bitten your bloody arm off. There was a study last week that said that 95% of NFT collections are worthless. But I'm going to go to my grave believing those 95% are actually still worth more than Everton Football Club. But not on this day. Not on this day. Q Tark, who left Brentford after forcing his sale to Burnley, been booed with every touch. He rose up to nod home from a corner. First goal since the one that did Arsenal in last year. Ran away, shushing the crowd. Who wants the sex, Tarkowski? And then the final goal, Dave. DCL running onto a stunning pass. Did you know James Garner's middle name was Iniesta, by the way?
Yeah, this pass was something else. I've watched this back a few times. I had to just keep on checking, like, who made the pass? Who made the pass? Who is this new Spanish player playing for Everton? It's not. It's James Garner. What an amazing ball and a great finish. I mean, DCL doesn't finish from that far out, Rog. It just is. He needs to be like within the lines, Rog.
David, the Everton have changed since 777 have been involved in them. At Dujo2 tweeted, people are asking, are 777 partners the best American-based owners in the Premier League? We'll discuss that. Yeah, I mean, what else do we have to believe in? But God, Davo, how joyous must that have been for DCL? First goal for him since May. An agony of doubters and self-doubt. But man, to have Beto tire out opponents and then have DCL come on so good looking. I loved what he said, Dave. He said, post-game, he said, football is a funny old game. Bit of a cliche there, DCL. Football is a funny old game. When I came off against Aston Villa, my own fans booed me off. Today they cheered me. I'll relish this. I'll take the rest with a pinch of salt. Just beautiful happiness, that, huh?
Yeah. And also giving it to the people who booed him, which I also love. Wonderful. Congratulations. Beautiful result. Beautiful goals. 3 goals in one game for Everton, Rog, away from home.
We used too much of that's our whole ration of goals for the whole season, but I'll take it. I felt so joyous. DCL fresh, scoring again. Jack Harrison still to come back. And I know we're going to get smashed by Luton next weekend. I know we'll be right back down to earth with a bum. I know we're saying, what do we say to death? Not today. Well, maybe today, but come back in a little bit, please. We've got a bit of life, bit of fight. That's all we want as Everton fans leaping out the relegation zone with a fine win. 16th place, so high, nosebleeds, baby. I'm not sure it's possible. Let me ask you a serious question. This season, with so many crap teams in the league, is it still possible to be relegated with 4 points, or are we safe now?
I don't know. This could be, this is remarkable. I think there could be a team that ends up with less points than Everton have now, but I think it's unlikely, Roger. I think it's unlikely. I think you're going to need to win and draw a few more games before you can before you can breathe that sigh of relief.
You mean I've got to take my mission accomplished flag out at the front of my yard?
yeah, absolutely.
At Binky Marsh 29, did someone at the Men in Blazers Monastery commit themselves to the practice of flagellation for this Everton win? Binky, all are welcome at the Men in Blazers Football Monastery. We practice only love, imbibing of beverages, self-flagellation, body mortification, and firewalking. All are welcome.
Yeah, I watched that great countryside show that airs on Sunday afternoons in Britain, Roger. I spent 2 hours watching all about beekeeping. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the Men in Blazers football monastery, Rog, to take up my beekeeping and mead making duties.
We've had a lot of emails from people talking about that they are beekeepers and want to tutor us in the ways of beekeeping, which I would bloody welcome. It's the mead work that we need help with, David. We're a bit bereft on the mead front.
Yeah, maybe the spirituality as well, Rog, we might need some help with. But I think the monastery, it's still right up there in terms of Men in Blazers ideas. Although I worry about it because we've now spoken about it enough, just as we did about the newscast, which you launched. And so the monastery could be just behind.
Well, you think I'm just product placing something that I fully intend to do?
Yeah, when we launch a podcast that will be an hour of silence, Rog, then I'll know we're on the way.
When I start shaving my hair a bit different, then you'll know.
Well, actually, you won't be able to tell the difference, Rog. We've already got the monk haircuts. We don't have to do any work there. Okay, before we go, a quick reminder about everything that we've got happening at Men in Blazers this week, powered by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Please subscribe to Early Kickoff. Remember, it's not on this pod feed, so go and search Men in Blazers Early Kickoff and smash that subscribe button. And a special mention for tomorrow's Do It Live, which goes down at 6:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Yes, that's right, 6:10 p.m. Eastern Time. We have so many podcasts that we have to do them at different minutes past each hour every day, because you will be joined direct from Milan by none other than Fabrizio Romano. Come and ask your questions for Fab live on the pod. All you have to do is download the AMP app to get involved. The link is all over our socials. Rog, can we get a final toast to bring us home?
I want to close by raising a shot of Jägermeister, this bolt of human emotion in a shot glass, to one of the most heartwarming videos of fandom I've seen in a long, long time. We dropped it on our Twitter, our Instagram over the weekend. It went everywhere. So I know it touched a deep, passionate nerve of fandom around the world. Video, if you've not seen it, it's of a young fan of a Turkish club, Samsunspor, kid who stands on a curve to wave to his heroes on the team bus as it passes by every single week. Tiny kid, can't be more than like 6 or 7. He wears enormous goalkeeping gloves as he waves. After a week or two, bus driver comes to expect him as he blows past. He blows the horn, which makes the kid squeal. And eventually, like the 5th or 6th time, the bus, it's in heavy traffic, but it pulls over, just makes a surprise stop. And the coach and the actual goalkeeper jump off the bus, hug the kid, present him with a match ball. Just the goalkeepers union looking out for
beautiful.
one of their own. It is stunning to witness. Power of fandom in its purest, most naive sense. A club being aware of the connections. It's going to kill me, by the way, when I find out that behind the scenes of this, that the whole thing was fixed and made up. But the squeal of the kid when that bus stops, you cannot manufacture that happiness. It is a thing of beauty, single-handedly just heals the immense damage Salt Bay's done to Turkish football.
Okay, Rog. You can follow us on Twitter at Men in Blazers, at MC Davies, at Rog Bennett. Are we not calling it X yet? Instagram at Men in Blazers, at MC Davies. On Facebook, Men in Blazers. On Twitch, twitch.tv/Men in Blazers. Also our TikTok, look for it at Men in Blazers. And you can always email us at meninblazers@gmail.com. We love and cherish getting your emails, including your feedback, as we spoke about earlier. Okay, Venderpunk, Rog.
War Pig.
Was that a Rabona?
I like snacks.
Balls win.
Take that, Gloria.
Balls lose.
To Tweed.
Abrigado, rock on, mate.
Kung Fu Fight in America. Love you, Dave.
Love you, Rog.
Oh, Luton Town. I said not in the face. Listen to the full version of this podcast and all our podcasts wherever you get your pods. But first, subscribe here for more Men in Blazers videos and courage.